This is Top Shop Podcast.
Shop Podcast.
Top Shop Podcast.
Podcast for automotive service business owners by Paul Donahue.
Max is in Springfield, Ohio. That's where I grew up. He's in the cornfield area. I grew up on the other side of Cleveland in Mentor. So Max, give me a little background. You mentioned before I hit the record button, you were with your dad in the shop at 13. Is that correct?
Yeah, not so much the shop, but in the garages and stuff. So my dad started, he's a very technical guy, started his career as a technician and then went into the corporate offices at Chrysler. So, I remember, charging the old Chargers and everything up with Freon in the driveway and stealing parts off his carburetors to try and make the fake carburetors that he would get me for Christmas work. And we would go back and forth. We'd go out in the garage and we'd just work on things. That's kind of where it all began.
So, how did you share your journey to owning your own shop? I mean, so 10 years ago, you created your own business. Did you buy a shop that was already established? Did you start one from scratch, or?
No, I started from scratch when, So I formed the LLC in 2014. And I did a lot of remote work at the time. So I had a home base, which was right at my house there. And then I would just go out. I got some contracts. There was a medical transportation company that had ambulances. So not from the city, but a private company. And they had about 24 ambulances. And the CEO of that company was a customer of mine. And he's like, I've got this business, and I've got a guy out here right now. I don't think he really knows what he's doing. He's kind of over his head. Do you think you come take a look at some of these? And I think it was 24 or 27 ambulances in that fleet. And when I showed up there was a young guy who just got out of the military, never worked on diesels before, and had most of them torn apart. And I said, let me go talk to your guy. Let me see where he's at with things. And the guy came up to me and he's like, man, I have no idea how any of this goes back together.
Wow.
And so he was just taking things apart, not putting them together. And so I got a couple of them back up and running for him. And they wanted me to come work for them. And I said, no, I don't do that. I got my own company. And so basically started as a contract worker for them. And that was a big boost just as we were starting out the company. So that was a lot of work that was there. Really helped us to get things off and running from there.
Yeah, that was very worked out really well for you, because fleet accounts are, you can get 27 new customers, or you can get one, and you got 27 minnows, or you can get one fleet account that has 27 vehicles. Now you got a whale.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That really helped boost your finances and get you moving forward.
Yeah, it was. And, I listen to Dave Ramsey a lot, and I listened to one of his podcasts, and he talked about entrepreneurship and starting a company. And he says, the trick is always it's always going to be a leap going from, the dock to the boat. It's always going to be a little bit of a step. But he's like, the trick is to try and get the boat as close to the dock as possible before you make that jump.
Right.
And so before that, I was doing a lot of side work, and to the point where I was getting cease and assist letters from the county because I had too many cars parked out in front of the house.
Oh.
And I actually had to develop, inside the house, I had a map. And I would actually have to start hiding cars around the neighborhood, and then I'd have to go and get them. And it was a whole system we had set up. But, through that, having all that customer base that we had there, and then landing that big fleet account, it made it a lot easier to jump on the ship, so to speak.
So you looked around your hometown there for a suitable location, and
yeah, I wanted to be on the north side of Springfield here. There's no other automotive shop. Still really isn't. But it was really the only section of Springfield that had big neighborhoods as well. And so I kept holding out. And then a place that I looked at probably 10 years before I even started my business, a place that I was going to rent with another guy just to do side work out of it, but it never became available. It was really on like the last week of being able to work out of my house. And lo and behold, about a 1,700 square foot section of that building became available. And so right as I got that cease and assist letter from the county, I was really able to move pretty seamlessly into that shop.
All right. Awesome. Yeah. So
that shop was like 1,700 square feet when we started. And then within 4 years, we took over the rest of the building, which is about 12,000 square foot is what we have now.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. So how many bays do you have now, or?
So we have 17 bays, 14 racks.
And 14 racks, really good sized shop.
Yeah, it's really big, so almost too big some days.
Right, yeah. So, hey, how do you feel that the industry's changed over the last decade?
Oh man, I think about every 10 years it's a whole new industry.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
100% not the cars that I grew up working on. It's not the systems. It's not any of it. I mean, the advancements are so fast and so much more than what they were. And you really have to be able to stay on top of it to know what's coming down the pipeline, what you're currently working on, the amount of education and training that goes into it now. It's pretty hard to fathom, I think, for most people.
Yeah.
And it's just
What are the major trends that you're seeing in auto repair technology?
just the advancement of electronics and modules alone. As we
Correct.
see,
Sure.
every single part on a car now has its own module. Everything has to communicate on a network. When we started putting networks into vehicles is when I think we kind of really separated a mechanic from a technician, in my opinion.
Correct.
So we're no longer just hard testing parts, but now we have to test communication in between parts and verify that. So it added a whole new degree, a whole new level to a technician that we were looking for.
That's a good marker. From mechanic to technician is when they started.
Mhm.
I hadn't heard anybody say that before, but that is a really good marker indicator. So, what are some of the biggest challenges that you face in running your own shop?
And it's a lot more challenging now to find employees, especially technicians. It can be done. It's a full-time job on its own. It's 50 hours a week. And you have to go after them. You're not going to find a technician these days in an unemployment line. So you have to get creative of how are you finding these technicians? How are you reaching out to them? It's crazy because some of it kind of starts to seem a bit like you're stalking people.
Right.
But you're tracking them down on social media. Whether you're bumping into them at a gas station, getting their name and number. But the amount of upkeep it takes just on the technician side of kind of staying in front of them. That tech may not be ready to leave, but we all know that techs like to use their wheels on their toolbox a lot. So try and stay in front of people and try and stay just with them, communicate with them monthly, even if they're not interested in leaving, and just build good rapport with people. And so that's really changed a lot too, because used to be a lot easier to get technicians.
Mhm.
And I think we're seeing a lot of them leave the industry. I think there's a lot of them that aren't that interested in it, and the ones that are good enough to stay, they're starting to know their worth and what they want. And so it's causing us as employers to really have to open up our checkbooks to go get them. I think they're worth it, but I think we're going to see a big swing in more of what they're getting paid and what the automotive industry is going to have to charge to keep them.
Yeah. So you've already given that's a question I had a little bit later. How do you find, retain?
Okay.
How do you find, hire, and retain good techs? And so you started giving me some insight there. So social media, I have heard that. So you look for people that have that career in your.
Yeah, that's one way to do it. I mean, Indeed, and some of those other job listing places, they're good. I don't really rely on them to make the matches, but they can give you a pathway to a technician, so to speak. And so you can kind of look at their smart sourcing, and you can look at the tech. You can find out who works, whether that person's looking or not. You can see where they're working at. For the most part, you can usually get at least an Indeed email, and you can reach out to them. And like I said, it's you're spending 50 hours a week just on recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
It is time consuming, and there's a lot of work, and that's seems to be, as an owner, where a lot of my time is being spent. Is making sure that I like to call building a bench. Making sure that I always have technicians, making sure I always have service writers, making sure, if we're running a parts manager, do I have backups for that? Because, unfortunately, people leave,
Right.
whether we want them to or not, or, stuff happens in life and people leave. And, there's not much worse than being stuck without enough employees to be able to run a company.
Yeah, I think you gave a key insight here. It's relationship. So we are always reaching out to people on LinkedIn for positions that we don't need filled right now, but we start developing the relationship with them, because you never know. 6 months later, we get a message from somebody, hey, I my company's sold, or hey, I got a new boss and we're not getting along. Are you guys hiring? So. Right. But because we'd opened the door and they'd heard of us and they know who we are, and we had reached out to them. So same thing with you guys. So you're really putting a lot of hours into into your recruitment process, but it's obviously paid off for you to grow from 1,700 to you're a really good sized shop. So that kind of growth in 10 years is really, really, really good. So, what strategies have you found most effective for retaining loyal customers?
I look at, I guess, maybe customers a little different than some shops do, and I guess that's according to how the ones I used to work at. But when Amazon started, they said our number one thing is going to be customer service. We're going to take care of the customer at all costs, and I kind of adapted that. And with a customer, whether you're right or wrong, you're still wrong. To go and to argue with them, to go and fight them, and there's a lot of might be a little off topic here, but what I try and do is just make sure the customer is taken care of. Whether we had if there's an issue with billing, if there's an issue with how the car worked out, we stand behind our product, we stand behind what we sell. If it's a little bit out of warranty and it's something we can do, sometimes we just write the check to take care of the customer, because we may lose a little bit on this job taking care of them, but we're going to win their loyalty over the next several years, and hopefully their family's loyalty and people they know. I always feel that word of mouth and good word of mouth travels very fast. People are always looking for a reliable place and a place not to be taken advantage of. So I think if we can combat that, then we've made a big step. And that's really my vision is be able to restore good faith to the automotive industry. And I'm just not going to be able to do it all by myself, but I guess I look at it, Bob down at the Sunoco station used to be a really trusted person back in the day.
Correct.
We're really dating it back to, we're talking about Sunoco and service stations, but
Sure.
but it was, you trusted him. Hey, your car's making a noise. Go see what he has to say. And over the years and decades, we've really lost a lot of that credibility as a shop or as technicians. And I think there's been a lot of things that have caused it. There's been a lot of mistrust. There's been a lot of lies. So we do whatever we can to be transparent with the customer, to empower that customer, to show them what's going on with their vehicle, whether it's digitally or calling them down in person, and just having discussions and being real with people about what's going on with their car.
Right. What are some of the key management practices that you think have contributed to your success? Because to manage that many techs and writers and everything and make it all work. I understand.
Yeah.
I own a digital marketing agency. I understand, making, herding the cats, So what do you think are the major contributors to your management success with your team and your techs?
Honestly, I think a big part of it is having a good support system as an owner. There's not many people in this world that will understand what an automotive shop owner is going through. It's a unique business, that we have separated into what we call a front of house and back of house. We've got an entire industrial side that we're fixing and repairing vehicles, and then we have an entire sales side that we're selling and promoting and marketing and keeping track of customers' vehicles, their warranties, their maintenance items, and everything. And there's a lot of moving parts to being an auto shop owner, and it can get very frustrating, especially when you start getting some things not going right. For me personally, having that support system and what I belong to a group of shop owners. So it gives me somebody to reach out to when I'm having an issue. Maybe I'm having an employee issue, or maybe I'm having a parts issue, or maybe I'm just having a logistic issue. But being able to have people to be able to talk to and a sounding board that truly understand it and that either been there and beat it, or at least are currently feeling your pain or something along those lines. Because we can't go to our employees about it. We can't go to family members for the most part because they just don't understand what's going on. So for me, that's been a big part. The other part is I always try and better myself. I know that God has entrusted me with a company. He has given me a gift of leadership in my life, and I don't take that lightly. So I take a lot of time to develop who I am as a leader, whether that's reading books or podcasts or studying the industry, participating in conferences, getting as involved as I can. I know it's my job to make sure that I'm always the best that I can be, because if I'm not the best I can be, I can't be the best for other people. And so I try and have all those practices in a daily environment, whether it's, always studying, always learning, talking to other people, and just being heavily involved in this industry, and then also in personal growth as well.
That's a great answer. That answer is the reason that you've grown so much in the last 10 years, for sure. I did remember what my my thought that
Okay.
slipped out was,
Yeah.
there's been a trend that I don't know if there's any research behind it. I'll have to dig into it, but it used to be there was a lot of distrust with the independent shop owner. That distrust because of Google reviews. And by the way, I looked at your reviews, several platforms, Carfax, Google, fantastic reviews in your shop.
Thank you.
So, it's changing because of Google, because of people being able to leave instant reviews. The distrust is now moving towards the dealership, which is where the trust used to be. Oh, I'll just take it to the dealer because I'll get it done right there, So that's been eroding and evaporating over the over the last years. I don't know how many, but I'd like
Yeah,
to.
it really has.
It has, hasn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of that. I think people still like the personal contact.
Yeah,
I think
that's it.
Dealerships have become such a corporation that you don't know who you're getting, you don't know who you're talking to. It's kind of the Wizard of Oz. It's the man behind the curtain that's making all the decisions. And I know I personally, when I go into businesses and if I have a chance to meet the owner or, it's a locally owned business, I feel different about that establishment. I can't say if that's because I'm a local small business owner or not, but I like that involvement. I like hearing people's hearts for the community and that are involved. And I think we lose a lot of that personal touch when we start looking at corporations, especially some of these dealers that are so big. And I'm not saying they're all like that, but there's definitely some. And then just their inability to want to work with people. And, we've looked at some hard times here in the past couple of years in our society and in our financial system. And a lot of people just don't have the money that they used to. So can we work with them? And, are you going to get that with a dealership versus independent? I'm not saying, independents just cut the rates for everybody who's going through a hard time or whatnot. But I think you just get that personal feel with the local business.
Yeah. And that's why, the kind of imagery that, that's on a website, it's all subconscious. So there's a lot to website conversion. And one of the things is making that homey local feel. Hey, these are the people that are working on my car, so but anyway, so the next one was that question, how do you attract skilled technicians, which you have a great system for that, but look at the amount of work you put into it. But what training or professional development are you doing for your employees? Do you go to Vision or
so we usually send technicians out to Vision. We also work with another company, Shop Fix, that does a lot of training.
Shop Fix Academy, sure.
Yeah, they've done really well, and so we'll send. So we usually send like the technicians more go to the Vision. It seems to be a lot more hands-on technical training there, and then management training, service writer training, owner training works more with the Shop Fix crew and their company out there. They just have, what I have found is just some really outstanding, really more than anything, it's leadership training. And I think that's what we need with our managers and our front of house staff is people that can lead others, because we're ultimately asking them to lead customers and to lead our business. We do that. We also use some online, I'm going to forget what they're called now. We just started looking at them, but any kind of online training we look into. Some of the local parts houses put stuff on, whether it's from O'Reilly's or stuff. So that stuff can be hit or miss, but I think the biggest hits we've had for technical training is out at Vision. I like them. I know some of the classes are even hands-on for technicians, where they can do a hands-on lab scope and electrical courses, which, when we're dealing with techs, that's their bread and butter. That's how most of them learn. Most of them aren't going to learn by reading the book, and most of them are going to learn out by going out there and doing it.
Right. Awesome. Yeah. Vision is, we go to Vision every year. So,
okay. Nice.
Yeah. I have a booth there at Vision. So, and I've never, everybody I talk to, they really like it. So,
okay.
This would be my third year, I think, going out to Vision.
Yeah. I like going out there. I used to live in Overland Park, Kansas. And
you used to live in Overland Park?
Yeah. I lived there for a couple of years when I was very young. Oh. There's a little pizza place out there, and they're still in business. So I'll go out there just to reunite with the pizza place. But
that's cool.
Training's nice on top of it too.
So, what new tools and technologies have you adopted to, improve your service and efficiency, to maintain the? I mean,
Sure.
are you doing ADOS or
We
DVI?
aren't doing anything with ADOS. We don't see a ton of it.
Okay.
There's a local dealership that does if we need to send it out to them.
Okay.
Mostly just we use different types of scan tools. We use the drive tool with Opus.
Hmm.
I'm very familiar with them, and like and Drew Technologies. That's a really good platform, especially if you start getting the European. They have a really good engineering team that can help you out if you get stumped on something. It's a tool where they can come in on the backside and they can hook up to it, and they can help you out. They can help you out with programming. They can help you out with all kinds of different options with that one. The other one that we've had to look into is, more on a mechanical side, but engine tables for dropping subframes and engines out the bottom of the vehicles versus our old engine hoist. I mean, that's a big change in the industry as well, as now engines come out the bottom.
Yep. So at the top. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So depending who your tech is, they either like it or love it. So I thought it was great. I like doing them better that way myself. So
let gravity do the work. Do it right.
Yep. But the biggest thing I think let's just say over the past 10 years is the use of an oscilloscope, whether it be a picoscope or, whatever other company you're using. But the amount, like we were saying before, the amount of technology that's in vehicles now is we have to be able to view data at such a faster rate than a scan tool can see it. If we're looking at a scan tool, by the time we see it, the problem has already happened. And we have a diagnostic cart that's set up for just the picoscope. It's got its own dedicated computer. We got the leads. Everything stays hooked up on it. We use it on a daily basis. We're measuring crank waveform, cam waveforms, CAN bus signals, parasitic drains. We use it for just about anything electrical. It allows us to really fine tune anything we're looking at. It makes it so much easier to find the issue.
Awesome. Yeah. Speaking of last 10 years, how about the next 10 years? Just conjecture, but where do you think we're going? I mean, everybody, let's, all drive around in battery operated cars. I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't see it. I don't buy it. I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're going to see a decline in them in the next 10 years, because I think everyone's going to see they're not what they're lived up to be. And when those $12,000 batteries go out, then we'll see people's loyalty at that point.
Right. And the ecological disaster.
But I mean, it's sad, I think,
to create
maybe the first time in our industry that we're looking at cars that aren't made as good as they used to be. It's just, they've gone downhill. The quality of parts have gone down. The aftermarket electrical parts are trash. A lot of times we'll find ourselves, if we're doing electrical components, that we're getting them straight from the dealer or an OEM manufacturer, because we just can't trust aftermarket ones. The next 10 years is going to be interesting, to say the least, and see where we go. I think, and I hope that we see a little bit, I hope we see some of the auto industry makers re-looking at the way they're designing things and the way they're putting things together. I think we are throwing things together very quick and very poorly. But yeah, I think over the next 10 years, I think we see a decline in electrical vehicles. I don't think it's going to be the platform that they believe the future is going to be. I think we'll see the gas engine for the rest of our lifetimes, at least.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think they'll try and do more with more modules. They'll try and do more with hybrid systems.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I think they're going to continue with the hybrid because it increases the fuel mileage.
Yeah,
almost like carburetors to fuel injectors. We're running out of oil.
Right. Yeah.
I
don't think we are, but
right. Yeah. So, but yeah. Personally, I'm hoping for hydrogen. We can figure out how to store it and transport it and put it into a car without worrying about blowing mom and the kids up because it's it's so combustible. But it'd be phenomenal if we could do that, or find a way to create a battery that doesn't destroy the earth.
Yeah, exactly. I would like to see maybe an alternative fuel system as well, that we're not just dependent on petroleum. But yeah, like the hydrogen fuel cell, if we could get that into a practical use, I mean, why not?
Yeah, I mean, what comes out the exhaust is water. So I
Right,
mean,
exactly.
you can't get any cleaner than that, right? And
For
then
sure.
the infrastructure is all there. All the cars are already internal combustion, so
Right.
makes
So
as
at
much
that point,
sense to me. Yeah,
you're changing a fuel system, not an entire platform.
yeah.
So,
So hey, so what do you enjoy the most about running an auto repair shop?
to be completely honest, it's the people. It's the people I get to lead. I'm probably one of the only shop owners that will tell you that I'm not really into cars. Grew
Okay.
up working on them. I don't care what I drive. I don't have any sports cars. I'm not into muscle cars. I'm not into supercars. Maybe I get enough of it on my day to day. But I like the people. I like the people that God has entrusted me to. I like the people that I get to lead. I like the customers that I get to help. I like being involved in people's lives. For a lot of people don't know about me, but I was a missionary in the Philippines for about 7 years before I became a shop owner.
Well, wait a
And,
minute. You were a missionary
mhm.
for
Yes, sir.
7 years.
7 years in the Philippines, where we actually at one point created an automotive trade school that we were helping local guys and girls. There wasn't much for girls that were interested in it, but we were teaching automotive. We were teaching on a technical note, showing them the aspects because they have to fix everything on their own because they can't afford to just take it to a shop. So we actually got to work with groups of local people, put together skilled trade seminars. We'd get tools donated. We'd set them up with tools to help our parents. The thought was to, you teach a man to fish and he'll survive forever.
Right,
So,
right.
so it was along those lines. And I think it was that time that really showed me that it wasn't so much the cars that I liked, but it was the people I got to work with while working on those cars. And what a great way to get to know somebody and to build relationships is while you're working on cars. And so that's where a lot of my development came, and a lot of my true love of leadership came was in those times. And then coming back here, I look at it. I'm still a missionary because I just watched two of my employees over the past couple of years buy their first house. I'm big into physical fitness and eating healthy, and I've watched one of my technicians who's been overweight for a long time. He's now on this health regime that he wanted help with to get interested in, and he's lost 40 pounds. And it's like when you see these personal transformations and the people around you, because of the business that we've been building, people are changing their lives and are changing their family tree, and now they're able to buy houses. They're not just renting. They're able to lose weight. They're able to, restore their physical fitness and feel better and be there for their kids. And I think just being able to watch people provide for their families through a business that you created is, for me, it's the most rewarding part of the business.
Yeah, that's one of the I see it in all literature or that I read, and I read a lot of stuff too. And I'm also, I work out, ski, eat right, so but is find a purpose greater than yourself. So
Yeah.
I married a Filipino.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Nice.
my wife is in the Philippines right now.
Okay.
Yeah, so she went back to see her family. So we're a really big believer in the Sisters of Mary.
Okay.
So which is a phenomenal organization, and we donate to that, every
Okay.
month, and
Nice.
always have been. So it's Sisters of Mary. We're at in Philippines. Where you at?
So we were in central Philippines in Cebu.
Oh, in
And
Cebu. Okay.
Yep. And then we went to the southern Philippines, and Mindanao is where we did most of the automotive training.
Yeah, you don't want to be in Mindanao now. Yeah.
No.
So yeah.
Yeah, we were about 5 miles from Al Qaeda training camp when we were down there.
Jeez.
Yeah, so you had to have a lot of armed security everywhere you went.
Yeah.
Especially being a white person down there, you really stuck out.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no hiding there. So yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, how do you any advice for the shop owner in maintaining a good work-life balance? Because you're managing a lot of people, like I said, 50 hours a week just for recruiting. Any advice on that front?
Yeah. The problem will still be there in the morning.
Good answer.
So, and what I mean by that is I would take stuff home, and I would dwell on it, and I would let it tear me up, and I wouldn't sleep, and I wouldn't want to interact with my family. And I still have the tendency to want to do that because at the end of the day, I'm a problem solver. I'm a fixer, and I want to look at it. But learning to be able to say, hey, you know what? it's okay to put this problem on hold until the morning because the problem will still be there.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing I'm really going to do tonight that's going to fix that issue. So let me set it aside. And it takes practice, and I'm still not, I want to know if I'm great at it. It's still not perfect at it. But being able to say, yes, there's an issue, but you know what? We can solve this at 8 o'clock in the morning. We don't have to solve this at 9 o'clock at night when it's family time, or 8 o'clock. And I don't have to miss family dinner, and I don't have to miss the things that I really love, for this. I don't have to worry myself to death. And I think part of that too is building the right team around you, people that you can rely on as a business owner. So are you using a manager? Do you have a good manager in place that you can rely on? Do you have good service writers? Do you have parts managers? Whatever system you're building, whatever your payroll budget allows you to have, do you have the ability to delegate? Because as a business owner, we have the tendency to want to wear every hat. I'm going to be the service writer. I'm going to be the front counter assistant. I'm going to be the shuttle driver. I'm going to be ordering parts. I'm going to go around out there and try and fix cars. But being able to take those hats off and delegate, I think, is when you start really learning more peace in this business.
Right.
And saying, this is a job for the manager. This is a job for the technician. And being technician based and always starting my career that way, I always want to jump in and fix the problem on the car.
Right.
But I've realized if I do that, I'm always going to be jumping in fixing the problem on the car. So I have to be able to take a step back and say, all right, what's the problem? And then either work through it with your technician or your manager or whoever, and allow them to fix the problem themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big part of the work-life balance, because you're delegating and allowing other people to share the workload. And then just having the discipline to say, this is a work problem. I'm going home now. And I'm going to relax, because when does the answer always come? It never comes when you're forcing it. It never comes when you're sitting there saying, I got to fix it. The problem comes when you're sitting down, you're relaxing, you're having dinner, you're sitting out back watching the kids, whatever, and boom, the idea comes to fix it. When we finally rest and when we finally relax is when we're able to process and we're able to really figure out how to either fix an issue or mend an issue. But we have to practice and create the discipline for that to happen.
Yep, that's a very old practice. Putting the problem or challenge into the mind and let the subconscious come up with God's subconscious the answer. And as long as you have faith in the process, the answer usually comes. So
my good friend always tells me, he says, "You already know the answer. Yeah, just got to let it come." And we do. Our subconscious is smarter than we give it credit for.
Yeah. So, are there any common mistakes you're seeing new shop owners make? I don't know if you have access to very many new shop owners, but
I think one thing that I've seen a lot is thinking you have to have the latest equipment, have to have the latest technology. So going into a lot of debt in order to propel the business.
Okay.
I don't think it's necessary. I raise my hand. I'm guilty at it. I tried it. I thought, if I had the latest tire machines, if I had the latest racks, if I had the latest scan tools, whatever it was, that's what would make me the money, and that's what would make me a good place to work for. Which were those some of the nice benefits, but really the growth came when we just started pouring in to our team and pouring into ourselves and leading. But I think that and trying to do it alone, for the most part, I think a lot of owners are usually technicians that get fed up working with somebody else and have some good company for what we call side jobs and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And they say, well, I can do this on my own. So now you're going from technician-based mind to an owner and having no idea what an owner is supposed to do. Right. I didn't go to business school. Never went to any business classes. So basically you're learning on the fly and learning how to walk through this. And again, I think it goes back to that support system, that if we don't have the right people around us to help us and to challenge us and to hold us accountable, then it's going to be some hard, long nights. And I think just thinking you have to do everything on your own. There's a really good book called Who, Not How. I don't know if you ever heard of it. Mm-hmm. Absolutely phenomenal book. And it talks about the difference between, especially as an entrepreneur or a business owner, of there's a certain level of pride and tendency to say, as an owner, I have to know everything there is to know about service writing before I can hire one. I have to know everything there is to know about every position. I have to know it all. I have to be able to do it all. But the truth of the matter is, we don't have to know. We just have to be able to hire the person who can. And so that's where the who, not how comes in, is who can I put into a place to manage and run this system? Not so much how can I master every little thing, because I don't think we get the growth that we want to as long as we're putting ourselves on every position in the company. And I know it's easy to do, and a lot of it has to do with finances when we're first starting out. But just realizing, we don't have to do every job in the company.
Right.
Is, I think, a big burden that we take on unnecessarily.
Yeah. Hold on one second. I'm going to. All right. And one last question. No shop is going to be successful without managing finances properly. So you'd already mentioned, a mistake that a lot of newer shop owners will do is get too far into debt. So, but any advice on how to manage finances to manage growth? Or
Yeah, absolutely. When I first started, the CEO of that ambulance company that I originally talked about, he's a guru with numbers, and he always told me, you got to know your numbers. You got to know your numbers. But no one ever told you what that meant or kind of what those numbers were. And looking back on it, I can see how critical it is. And the only way you're going to know if you're going into that is to know what you should be making, what positions in a company should be costing you, and what is our advertising budget supposed to be? How much should our technician cost be? What should our parts cost be? So one, we got to be monitoring that. We got to have a profit and loss statement every month. And if we don't know how to do it, then we got to hook up with. You can get a local accountant pretty cheap. Yep. Especially if you're starting out and you're new to it. There's not going to be a lot there, so it's relatively inexpensive. And we have to be able to watch those finances, because what I learned the hard way is total revenue sales means nothing. It's a fluff number. So I could go out and make $5 million this year in sales, but if my profit is 1%, what's the point?
Right.
Or if there is no profit, what's the point?
Right.
So sales is really a fluff number to me. What I'm interested in, how much profit am I making? How much gross profit am I making? And I think either you got to hook up with somebody who knows what those are. We've got the internet now, so we've got so much access to it. There's all kinds of channels that we can find on YouTube and other sources to find out what those are, or maybe it's getting involved with a company that can teach you. Whatever the investment is up front, it pays for 100-fold on the back end, because the sooner we can get our finances in control, the stronger that we can be in the company, because we can't do anything without funds.
Correct.
We can't add benefits that are going to keep employees. We can't add new equipment. We can't have Christmas parties. We can't have extra days off. We can't have holiday pay. We can't have any of that if our finances are askew. And so I think it's a huge burden and a necessary burden that as an owner, we have to know our finances. We have to know our numbers, because people are entrusting their lives to us, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying, hey, Max, I'm going to come work for you, and I trust that you're doing your due diligence with your company and that you're going to be able to provide the paycheck that you're saying, and that's the trade-off, is they work for us, we pay them. And we have to be able to do that. We have to be able to take care of our employees. We have to be able to retain those employees. We have to be able to take care of customers. We have to be able to advertise. We have to be able to afford all these things, and it all starts with our finances. So we have to get our head straight with our finances, and the sooner we can get that, the better off we are.
Yeah, I even had one shop owner tell me he did trade with a lady for her car repairs for bookkeeping to get started, and that's how I got started. So hey, Max, I really appreciate your time today. So it's been a great interview. It really has. You've given some great advice that other shop owners can definitely use. So so we thank you for your time and wish you a lot more success in the coming future.
Cool. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
All right.
For additional automotive resources and exclusive content, follow us on Spotify and subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all our episodes. Thanks again for joining us in the driver's seat, and we'll see you next time for another thrilling episode of Top Shop.